The darkness between stars is not truly silent. It only pretends to be. I learned this truth while serving as an archivist aboard the Galactic Union patrol vessel Erix 9, stationed near the forgotten boundary of the Orion Drift. Tonight, the Void spoke first. At 0317 Universal Cycle, the long-range anomaly sensors awakened with a signal no officer expected to hear. The words were simple, too simple. The captain's breathing slowed beside me, scales along her throat tightening in the fear sign pattern of our species. She asked. I did not answer immediately, because the shape on the radar was not behaving like any known vessel. It was moving, not gliding, not drifting. Moving as if the darkness itself carried it forward with purpose. No ion trail, no gravitational distortion normally produced by hyperspace emergence. Nothing, except shadow. The archive teachings of the first species began echoing inside my memory core. Humanity was extinct, destroyed by the instability of their own aggressive evolutionary nature. Or so the Council told us. Identify the object. The captain commanded. The communications officer fired 17 multi-language broadcast pulses into the void. The signal carried greetings, warnings, and legal identification protocols recognized across the Empire. There was no response. The human vessel continued approaching. Patient. Unhurried. Like something ancient watching insects attempt diplomacy. The tactical screen zoomed closer. The ship's surface was scarred. Not smooth like modern Empire construction. Rough. Uneven. Marked by long horizontal burn trails that looked suspiciously like battle wounds from kinetic projectile warfare. Primitive war history files resurfaced in my neural archive. Humans once fought using impact weapons that rely on mass rather than energy harmonics. Weapons that destroyed enemies by obeying gravity and momentum itself. She asked. The engineering console answered with hesitation. Silence spread across the bridge like cold dust. Ships do not move without propulsion. Unless they are dead. Or something worse. I zoomed the optical sensor. The vessel's front section carried markings I did not recognize. Not written language, but mathematical arrangement. Symmetrical sequences repeating in ancient pattern loops. My translator core attempted recognition. Failure. Then, unexpectedly, the system produced one result from the forbidden historical database. Human ritual encoding. My spinal filament shivered. Humans were not only warriors. They were storytellers. Their wars were often accompanied by symbols meant to communicate with death itself. The distance counter shrank. 70,000 kilometers. 65. 60.
Vrelix, do not move with patient intent. The human ship was not rushing. It was observing us, the same way predators study prey before deciding whether hunger justifies the hunt. At 40,000 kilometers, the ship changed behavior. It rotated slightly, very slowly, like a giant creature turning its head to look at us. The surface illumination systems activated. Soft white light spilled across its hull. Not weapon energy, not scanning beam. Light. Pure, warm spectrum light mimicking planetary ocean reflection patterns. The bridge crew fell silent. Our species associates such lighting with peaceful migration signals. The archive records suggested humans once believed light could drive away darkness. I felt something strange inside my translator mind. Curiosity, fear, respect. Then the human ship transmitted its first signal. Not voice, not combat challenge, just mathematics. A pulse sequence repeating at precise temporal intervals. My decoding system struggled for 3 seconds before producing meaning. The result made my dorsal membranes contract. No species identifier followed. No diplomatic signature. No threat. The captain demanded analysis. What does it mean? I did not answer, because historical conflict archives contained something terrifying. There was no record of humanity meeting our empire in any official war. If the message was true, it meant one of 2 possibilities. Either humanities knew us from a forgotten age, or humanity spoke to us as if we were already judged. The Council command channel erupted with argument. Some officers proposed immediate destruction strike. Others argued the ship was alone. 99.7%, one historian stated. Yet my sensors told a different story. The vessel's internal energy signature was inconsistent with single crew operation. There were life patterns inside. Many. I felt my optical receptors tighten as the human ship slowed further, now only 20,000 kilometers away, close enough that my species would normally initiate first strike protocol. The captain placed a claw on the command console. "What?" the weapons officer answered. The question hung inside the bridge air like frozen breath. I studied the ship again, and realized something terrifying. The human vessel was not aiming at us. It was positioning itself between our fleet and something behind it. But long-range scanners detected nothing. Empty space. Darkness. Nothing more. Then the human ship sent another signal. Short. Simple. Translated words arrived seconds later. Bring. The captain ordered formation hold. I recorded the moment inside official archive memory because I knew history was changing. The human ship was not chasing us. It was waiting. Patient as geological time, watching, learning, and somewhere inside the forbidden historical database, a forgotten warning fragment began activating itself without command. It spoke only one line, "Bring the darkness." The human vessel's lights dimmed slightly, as if preparing to move again, toward us, or past us.
Or towards something the Empire could not yet see. The long-range void sensors registered a fluctuation, very far behind the human ship. Too faint to classify, but it felt alive. The human signal pulse repeated once more. And then the human vessel began moving again, slowly, deliberately, as if the galaxy itself had just been given a warning it was not yet ready to understand. The Council emergency broadcast activated across the fleet. One sentence filled every channel. The human ship advanced another 1,000 kilometers, and I understood, with cold certainty, that this was only the beginning. Because humans do not travel across the void to announce war. They travel when something far older than war begins to move. And tonight, the darkness behind the human ship blinked once, like an eye opening slowly inside the dead stars. The Grand Archive Hall of the Galactic Empire was built long before my birth. They say it was constructed from the compressed remains of fallen moons. Ancient gravitational engineering allowed the Empire to polish planetary fragments until they shone like frozen silver oceans under artificial sunlight. Visitors are meant to feel the weight of history here. Pride, dominance, immortality. Today, however, the hall feels smaller, as if something invisible is pressing against its curved celestial ceiling. I stand beside the Quantum Linguistics Council while they study the human signal. It repeats, not loudly, not aggressively, but with patience that disturbs military minds trained to expect violence from unknown species. The pattern is rhythmic, heartbeat-like, slow, unbreakable. The chief scientist projects waveform analysis across the archive chamber. The lines resemble ancient biological timing cycles. Some scholars whisper that it is not a communication message. It is meditation. Others argue it is a trap designed to lure curiosity-driven species closer. The council chambers are filled with debate. Humans are extinct, one elder declares. Then explain the signal persistence, another answers. I remain silent, recording. Outside the archive, thousands of capital defense ships reposition around the Empire's homeworld. The formation resembles frightened birds sensing invisible wind currents. Our military doctrine was built on response prediction. But humans behave unpredictably. That is what terrifies command strategists most. Historical war databases are opened again. I study human conflicts. Humans built weapons capable of destroying their own cities if it meant preventing enemy occupation. I found one disturbing pattern. Humanity preferred victory through sacrifice rather than surrender through survival. The historian standing beside me speaks quietly. Humans prefer survival through meaning. I process this idea. Slowly. Because my species measures survival through biological continuity. Humans appear to measure survival through emotional meaning. At 11:02 with Empire Central Cycle, the human vessel transmits another signal burst. This one is different.
The waveform carries low-frequency thermal noise modulation. When translated through archaic Earth-ocean pattern filters, it resembles water moving across sand beneath planetary wind. The acoustic model triggers memory echoes inside my neural translator. I have never seen an ocean, but something inside my processor feels nostalgia, impossible nostalgia. The Military Intelligence Division immediately labels the transmission psychological warfare. Humans are attempting emotional destabilization, the defense minister states. Or they are inviting us to understand them, the historian replies. The council grows silent. Invitation. The word hangs like a suspended star fragment inside the chamber. I study the human signal again. The rhythm does not change. It is not accelerating toward attack. It is maintaining constant temporal spacing, like breathing or waiting. I feel something forming inside my neural translator architecture, an emotion not registered in standard scientific classification, reference, mixed with dread, because the human vessel is still approaching, not fast, but unstoppable in its persistence. Our long-range scanners confirm trajectory. Human fleet signatures are emerging behind the primary vessel detection shadow. Multiple ships, at least 30, possibly more hidden inside void distortion fields. The council debates strategic response. What? Asks the war general. No answer is given. The human signal repeats again. Heartbeat. Slow. Unbroken. I notice something terrifying inside the waveform structure. The pattern is not random. It is layered, like language hidden inside music, like prayer hidden inside war preparation. The archive database produces a forbidden hypothesis. Ancient human civilizations sometimes sent mathematical signals into space, believing the universe itself could respond. The humans may not be speaking to us. They may be speaking to something older, something listening behind the Empire's territory. At the edge of long-range scanning range, I detect a faint disturbance, not ship-shaped, not energy beam-shaped, more like darkness folding slightly inward. The human vessel sends one more message. Only 3 translated words appear after decoding delay. We have come. The council interprets it as warning, or promise, or declaration of presence. The Capital World Defense Grid activates planetary shield layers. Millions of citizens look upward tonight, though most do not know why fear is growing inside their chest membranes. I remain inside the archive hall, recording, because I suspect history is reaching a threshold moment. The human ship is now only 80,000 kilometers from outer defense orbit, and it is still moving, slowly, patiently, like something that already knows the Empire is watching. Behind the human fleet, the darkness between stars flickers once more, as if something vast and ancient is waking, because humanity has returned. And I am beginning to fear that the signal we are studying is not meant for us at all. It is meant for what follows humanity across the void. The human vessel's heartbeat rhythm continues, unbroken, waiting, as if the galaxy itself is being taught how to listen. The Empire sent 17 diplomatic frequencies, 17 voices of civilization reaching into the void like nervous prayer. None returned. The human vessel answered silence with silence, and silence, in the presence of humans, has weight. I watched the human ship rotate slowly along its gravitational axis. The motion was not aggressive, not sudden. It was deliberate, patient, like an ancient creature turning one eye toward a new world it had not yet decided to trust. The rotation revealed scars across the vessel's surface, long horizontal burn marks stretched across metal plating that was not smooth like modern Empire construction. The archive comparison systems confirmed my suspicion. The ship was old, older than several of our Empire's youngest moons, older than the last recorded interstellar migration of the third founders. Humanity did not broadcast technological specifications. They did something far more disturbing. They released light. The external illumination systems of the human vessel activated in soft spectrum arrays. The glow resembled sunlight reflecting from planetary ocean surfaces during planetary dawn. I accessed human psychological archives. Primitive human societies believed darkness was not merely absence. They believed darkness was something that could grow, something that could consume civilizations if not resisted. Humans used light as defiance, as declaration, as memory, as hope. The youngest military commanders aboard our fleet began displaying stress sign pheromone patterns, because the human ship was not aiming weapons. It was watching us deploy formations, the way predators watch migrating herds before deciding whether hunger justifies the hunt. Our fleet maintained defensive posture around the capital orbital sphere.
Thousands of vessels arranged themselves in layered geometry. Shield platforms activated. Energy field stabilizers hummed softly through vacuum communication channels. Hours passed. 33 hours to be precise. During that time, the human ship did not fire, did not retreat, did not communicate. It simply observed. Then the human communication system activated once more. The translation arrived after quantum decoding delay. 3 words. We came first. No species signature. No command protocol. No diplomatic registration marker. The historians panicked. There was no recorded encounter between humanity and our empire in official archives. If the message was truthful, it implied memory across impossible temporal boundaries. Or it implied something darker. The Council theorized ancient forgotten warfare, a possibility that humanities may have fought our ancestors in a forgotten epoch erased by history fragmentation events.
The elder archivist whispered that human civilizations sometimes preserve memory of enemies longer than memory of friends. The human ship continued observing. Its illumination pattern shifted slowly, not flashing, not signaling distress, breathing light, like a living organism maintaining rhythm with cosmic background radiation. The Fleet Tactical Command Center requested authorization to fire warning shots. Denied. The War Minister argued for preemptive strike doctrine. Denied again. Because something inside command leadership was changing. Fear was becoming hesitation. Hesitation was becoming curiosity. Curiosity was becoming something dangerous. Respect. I felt it first inside my neural translator core. A sensation not recorded in standard military emotional taxonomy. Respect mixed with dread. Humans were not searching for battle posture advantage. Their formation suggested something else. They were measuring us, quietly, without aggression, like scientists observing a new biological species before deciding whether interaction would be safe. The thought disturbed me deeply, because predators do not usually study prey with such patience. At 1456 Empire Central Orbital Cycle, long-range scouts detected energy fluctuation signatures behind the human fleet. Not weapon charging, not hyperspace rupture. More like reality itself breathing slowly. The Council demanded explanation. None could be given. At 1900 cycle time, the human vessel transmitted another message. The decoding algorithm required 47 seconds longer than previous transmissions. The historians were already nervous. No further clarification followed. The capital world population began reporting dream disturbances. Citizens claimed they felt presence in the sky, even when orbital scanners showed nothing unusual. I checked sensor logs. The human ship was not advancing rapidly, but distance was shrinking. Very slowly, like inevitability itself. At 2211 cycle time, I experienced the most terrifying realization of my career. Humans were not searching for war, they were searching for proof. Proof that the galaxy was still worth protecting, because only a species who remembers destruction can choose to stand between darkness and extinction again. The human vessel's light intensity decreased slightly, as if preparing to move forward, or preparing to wait forever. The fleet remained silent, watching, and somewhere far behind the human ships, the darkness between forgotten stars blinked once, like an eye opening inside an old cosmic wound. The gravity wells near the 7th asteroid belt began distorting. At first, the Empire sensor operators believed it was calibration error. Then the alarm screamed. Reality itself seemed to bend slightly around empty space. The void did not tear open. It folded. Silently. No civilization in recorded galactic history had mastered such movement. The human fleet numbered only 32 ships. 32.
Against the Empire's forward defense armada of nearly 10,000 combat vessels, yet the battlefield felt strangely quiet. Not tense, not loud. Quiet in the way ecosystems become silent before planetary storms. The human ships were visually different from Empire military doctrine. There were no visible heavy energy cannon arrays, no oversized plasma acceleration turrets. Instead, their whole surfaces carried symbolic markings. My translation archives compared the patterns to ancient human mythology. Humans named their war machines after creatures they respected: animals, storms, heroes forgotten by time. The largest human flagship carried a symbol etched across its forward hull. The translation core produced meaning after long semantic recursion. I did not understand the concept fully. Hope was not a tactical variable, yet humans treated it like a weapon. The human fleet did not form defensive combat geometry. They formed a wall, a barrier, not facing outward, facing forward, as if protecting something behind them. The Empire High Command immediately suspected ambush formation. Long-range gravitational scanning began searching for hidden ships, for cloaked weapon platforms, for quantum bomb deployment fields. Nothing was detected. The space behind the human fleet remained empty, or appeared empty. The War Minister ordered Battle Readiness Level 7. Capital World defense shields reached maximum energy saturation. 10,000 Empire ships adjusted targeting vectors. Waiting. The human flagship then initiated broadcast transmission. The signal was surprisingly clear. No encryption, no diplomatic formalities, only 4 words translated into standard Empire language. I did not understand the concept fully. Hope was not a tactical variable, yet humans treated it like a weapon. The human fleet did not form defensive combat geometry. They formed a wall, a barrier, not facing outward, facing forward, as if protecting something behind them. The Empire High Command immediately suspected ambush formation. Long-range gravitational scanning began searching for hidden ships, for cloaked weapon platforms, for quantum bomb deployment fields. Nothing was detected. The space behind the human fleet remained empty, or appeared empty. The War Minister ordered Battle Readiness Level 7. Capital World defense shields reached maximum energy saturation. 10,000 Empire ships adjusted targeting vectors. Waiting. The human flagship then initiated broadcast transmission. The signal was surprisingly clear. No encryption, no diplomatic formalities, only 4 words translated into standard Empire language. No threats, no declarations of conquest, no surrender, only existence. The council debate chamber fell silent after decoding, because the message was not tactical, it was philosophical. I observed the human fleet carefully, and noticed something that filled my neural architecture with dread. The human ships were moving, forward, very slowly, not accelerating, not charging weapons, moving like tectonic plates shifting across planetary crust, like geological inevitability rather than military assault. The movement was continuous, patient, unstoppable. Our tactical computers calculated collision probability. If movement continued, human fleet would enter primary engagement zone within 6 hours. The war general demanded firing authorization. Denied, because something inside the Emperor's strategic council was changing. Fear was transforming into uncertainty. Uncertainty was transforming into hesitation. And hesitation is dangerous in war doctrine. The human fleet maintained wall formation, protecting something invisible behind them. My sensor analysis continued searching empty space behind the human formation. At 2144 cycle time, I detected a faint energy ripple, extremely weak, almost impossible to classify. It did not match known life signatures, not weapon energy,
not navigation field distortion, but it felt older than the human ships. The historian standing beside me whispered one word. He did not answer. At 2202 cycle time, the human flagship transmitted another message, this time slower, as if speaking carefully, as if choosing words for children. The War Minister's claws tightened around command controls, because the sentence implied something terrifying, that humanity had the capacity for extinction-level warfare, but was choosing not to use it. The human fleet advanced another 100 kilometers, slow, inevitably, like a mountain range moving across cosmic desert. Behind them, the darkness between forgotten stars pulsed once, very faint, like something large breathing while still asleep. The Empire Defensive Armada prepared firing matrices, target locks established, but no one gave the order, because every soldier on the bridge felt it. The human fleet was not attacking. They were approaching because something else was approaching from the opposite side of reality, something that made human ships form a protective wall across the void. And I realized with terrifying clarity that humanity was not the hunter tonight. Humanity was the guardian, and the galaxy had just become very quiet because something vast was beginning to wake behind the human fleet. The Empire fired first, not because our species desired war, Fear had already become doctrine inside the command hierarchy, and fear, when structured into military philosophy, becomes action. Energy beams erupted across vacuum space like rivers of artificial sunlight burning through cosmic night. 10,000 Empire warships discharged synchronized attack patterns. The light was beautiful in a horrifying way. I recorded the phenomenon. Human ships did not respond immediately. This was the first thing that disturbed our tactical analysts. Instead of counterattacking, the human vessels allowed the energy impact to strike their outer armor layers. The human hulls glowed faintly, like dying stars releasing final warmth before collapse. Damage reports began transmitting across Empire intelligence channels, but something was wrong. The human vessels were not being destroyed as expected. Their armor technology did not disperse energy, it absorbed it, converted hostile radiation into internal thermal storage cycles. Then the human weapons awoken. The Empire analysts were confused. Human projectile systems were not based on high-energy beam warfare. Instead, they used kinetic acceleration launchers, simple mass object propulsion, old physics, terrifying physics. Human projectiles moved through vacuum like judgments delivered by gravity itself. Each strike carried momentum sufficient to fracture Imperial battle shields, not through explosive force, through persistent impact, like destiny refusing to stop. Inside the human fleet, pilot communication channels opened, but not using military code sequences. Emotional speech patterns were transmitted.
I intercepted one fragment. The voice was young, tired, determined. There were no identification signatures attached, no command hierarchy markers, only shared understanding. When one human ship sustained severe structural damage, nearby human vessels adjusted position automatically. No command order was detected. The movement was biological, like organisms protecting wounded members of their own body. The Empire's strategic command experienced psychological shock. Humans did not fight as segmented military units. Humans fought as a collective existence, a single organism that refused to abandon even one consciousness inside it. The battle noise was strangely restrained. No triumphant war declarations, no aggressive victory signals, just continuous controlled violence, like two ancient predators testing strength without allowing extinction. Empire warships attempted coordinated multi-vector strike formations. Human ships responded by interlocking movement trajectories, not to chase enemies, but to protect internal formation integrity. The human fleet wall moved slightly forward during combat, not rushing, not charging, advancing like geological pressure across planetary crust. Slow, unstoppable. One human frigate lost propulsion stabilization during beam impact sequence. Immediately, 3 other human ships shifted formation, shielding it, dragging it gently using gravitational tether technology, as if refusing to allow death to claim a member of their collective. The war minister whispered something I recorded. The Empire's tactical intelligence system estimated human combat efficiency differently than expected. Human victory probability did not depend on firepower superiority. It depended on endurance, on refusal to break formation, on willingness to stand between danger and vulnerable life. The battle duration reached 12 galactic hours. Damage reports accumulated across both fleets, yet the battlefield remained strangely respectful. There were no targeted strikes against civilian orbital regions, no biological weapon deployment, no annihilation pulses. Human pilots continued transmitting emotional speech fragments, sometimes laughter, sometimes singing patterns from forgotten Earth archives. The archive historians believed it was psychological reinforcement behavior. I believed it was cultural resistance against fear. At 1823 cycle time, the human flagship fired its primary kinetic acceleration cannon. The projectile was massive, not explosive, pure momentum mass. It struck the Empire command shield barrier and created a slow, expanding gravitational fracture ring that shimmered like frozen glass across vacuum. 73 standard cycles. The first pause in battle since combat began, because every alien soldier felt something strange inside their neural combat networks. Respect. Fear. Recognition. The human fleet did not celebrate the strike. They simply maintained formation, protecting their wall, holding the line.
Behind the human ships, long-range forbidden sensors detected movement again. Very faint, closer now, like something large shifting in deep cosmic sleep. The human flagship transmitted one final message during this combat phase. The battle continued. Slow, patient, like two civilizations measuring each other's will to exist rather than measuring destruction capacity.
and somewhere behind the human fleet, the void blinked once more. Not like space, but like something opening one eye inside the endless night. My species has never felt admiration for enemies. War was taught to us as biological necessity. Victory was survival. Defeat was extinction. There was no middle path. But humanity exists in the space between those truths. The battle continued for 12 standard galactic hours. I recorded casualty signatures from the human fleet. The numbers were small compared to Empire projections. But every time a human ship suffered catastrophic structural failure, something remarkable happened. Nearby human vessels altered trajectory, not through command hierarchy, but through what our scientists later labeled collective survival instinct. Damaged human ships were gently pulled backward using gravitational tether systems, not abandoned, never abandoned, even during active combat. Empire medical observation units transmitted reports of unprecedented behavior. Human civilization appears to treat wounded combatants as continuation of identity rather than disposable units. The human flagship initiated communication during battle. Its signal was unusually calm. The translation arrived in 3 lines. The Imperial Council chamber erupted into ideological fracture. Some political leaders demanded immediate surrender negotiations. Others demanded total destruction strike doctrine activation. The Empire was splitting between fear and aggression. I remained inside the archive observation station, studying human historical databases. I discovered a terrifying pattern. After planetary wars, humans rebuilt destroyed civilizations. They did not erase former enemies. They absorbed them, integrated knowledge, shared infrastructure, sometimes even adopted cultural practices of former adversaries. Humanity did not define survival as elimination of opposition. They defined survival as continuation of meaning. The historian beside me spoke quietly. He hesitated before answering. Silence settled inside the archive hall. The human fleet was still fighting, but their formation was changing subtly. The wall structure became tighter, more protective, less offensive, like guardians preparing for approaching catastrophe rather than soldiers seeking victory. At 0712 cycle time, long-range forbidden sensors registered gravitational distortion signatures outside normal spatial laws. The pattern did not resemble ships or natural cosmic phenomena. It resembled something moving through layers of reality itself. The human flagship transmitted another message, this time slower.
The Council interpreted this as psychological dominance strategy, but I felt something else. Humanity was not trying to frighten us. They were trying to warn us. The human fleet casualty rate remained surprisingly low considering battle intensity, because whenever one human vessel was critically damaged, others formed protective circles around it. The movement was instinctive, like neurons protecting damaged tissue inside a living brain. I accessed restricted war archive memories. Human history contained repeated cycles of destruction followed by reconstruction. Cities burned, civilizations fell, then humans rebuilt, again and again. I began suspecting something horrifying. Humanity may have learned that war itself is not the ultimate enemy. Something older than war exists, something that feeds on civilizations that forget fear, something that grows stronger when species believe peace means safety. At 0933 cycle time, the human flagship reduced forward movement speed, not retreating, simply stabilizing position, holding the line across cosmic darkness. Behind the human fleet, the forbidden long-range sensors detected clearer structure formation, not yet visible to optical systems, but gravitational mathematics confirmed presence of mass beyond comprehension thresholds. The Council demanded explanation. None could be provided. The human flagship broadcast one final message during this observation phase. Its tone was not military, it was sorrowful. The council chambers fell into argument again. Some species representatives proposed alliance formation. Others argued humans themselves might be the greater threat. I watched the human fleet carefully and felt awe, because humans were fighting without fear, not because they were incapable of fear, but because they chose something stronger than fear,
responsibility. I realized then that humanity was not searching for victory over us. They were searching for proof that intelligent life still existed in the galaxy, because only living civilizations can stand together when the true darkness arrives. The human fleet wall tightened formation again, as if preparing to stand between us and something that had not yet fully awakened. The human fleet stopped firing suddenly, not because they were defeated, not because they were victorious, but because something inside their command philosophy had reached its intended decision point. All 32 human ships maintained perfect formation. The wall structure that had held across 12 galactic hours of combat remained unbroken. Then the human flagship transmitted its final message. The signal was unusually clear. No translation delay, no decoding recursion, just words. The sentence carried weight beyond military doctrine. It felt like farewell, like promise, like burden. The human ships began rotating slowly, not away from the Empire fleet in panic, not retreating under pressure,
turning as a single organism, as if departure itself was part of strategic design. The Empire command channels were silent. No officer ordered pursuit. No weapon was fired. Because every soldier on every bridge felt it. Respect, fear, gratitude, something deeper. The human fleet initiated void-walking transition sequence, the same movement technique that had allowed them to emerge from darkness earlier. Space around their vessels folded gently, like cosmic fabric accepting passage. One by one, human ships vanished into interstellar night. No explosion, no shockwave, no final battle declaration, just absence. The battlefield remained, silent, cold, filled with the ghost memory of combat that had been strangely respectful. I stood inside the archive observation chamber, recording final data, and I reached a conclusion that terrified my scientific mind. Humans were not strongest because of technology. Humanity was strongest because they continued fighting even when victory probability was uncertain. They fought not only for survival, but for meaning, for protection, for memory, for something that existed beyond biological continuation. The Galactic Union later conducted independent investigation of sealed human historical archives obtained through diplomatic exchange. Inside those archives was a warning older than the Empire itself. It described an entity that did not consume matter, not energy, but possibility. A predator that survived by erasing civilizations from future probability itself. Ancient human records called it by many names: the silence that eats stars, the old darkness, the entity before memory. Evidence suggested humanity had been preparing for confrontation with this cosmic predator since the earliest recorded human wars. Human civilization appeared to evolve not only through survival, but through anticipation of extinction-level threat. The narrator of this archive record, myself, submits final observation. If humanity returns, it will not be for us, because humans do not cross the void across centuries of danger merely to fight small wars. They come when something larger than war begins moving. And now the galaxy is quiet. Too quiet. The Empire defense fleets remain in formation around the capital world. Citizens look upward at night sky projections, though they do not know why fear still lives inside their chest membranes. The human fleet is gone, but long-range forbidden sensors continue reporting faint gravitational disturbances far beyond known star charts, as if something vast is searching slowly through reality layers, feeling for civilizations that forgot how to be afraid. I archive this record with one final note. The humans did not leave because the battle was over. They left because the real war has not yet begun. And somewhere inside the dark between galaxies, I believe humanity is still watching, waiting, protecting, preparing, because the universe itself may be in danger. And if the humans return, it will not be for us. It will be because the silence has finally learned how to scream.